It's been a day since one of the best days in Jazz history. Let's talk about what's next for the Utah Jazz after winning the number 2 pick. And then let's also talk about whether the Utah Jazz are going to make a trade or not, and what that might look like or not look like. It's the Hoops Nerd Show. All right, guys, like always, like the video, subscribe to the channel. It's been a day. My voice is kind of gone from just losing my mind yesterday. If you haven't seen the reaction, you should go do that. It was 4 years of waiting for that moment. The buildup was incredible. The amount of people that didn't believe that it could happen, including myself. I knew it was the right thing to do, but whether the Jazz would actually win was like improbable, literally, because it's just difficult to win the lottery. And it happened. And Utah is in the best position now than you could argue they've ever been in before, since probably John Stockton and Karl Malone, where they have a path to championship contention like never before. Now, they've got some teams ahead of them that are elite. Wembanyama and the Spurs are only going to improve, and Wembanyama is looking like he's going to be the best player in the league for some time. And we all know what the Oklahoma City Thunder are capable of with their defense and scoring and having an MVP in SGA. So the road is going to be difficult, but the Utah Jazz are built to walk that road now. Why? Because they won the number 2 pick. They have a chance to bring on a prospect onto this team that is generational. And it's what we have wanted for 4 years. It's why I lost my mind. This is why you tank. And it's why you go through the pain of losing seasons to get a chance to draft a player that can change everything for you. Now, Utah sits at the number 2, and I know some Jazz fans are likely a little bit disappointed because they probably wanted that number 1 to get AJ Dybantsa. For those here in Utah that have watched him on BYU, it's been an incredible season. I tell you what, though, Darryn Peterson is the most skilled player in this draft. That is just a fact. His ability to shoot the ball is historic, and that includes having a season where he struggled to just stay healthy. He struggled all season long to be healthy and still had one of the best scoring outputs, efficiency-wise, in college basketball history. And when you consider the system he was in, Bill Self, who's not very good, overrated, I should say, a too big system. They had him playing off the ball with average at best guards handling, and he'd be just multiple double teams every time he played, and he still scored like he did. I'm telling you that if Utah gets AJ Dybantsa or Darryn Peterson, they're going to be ecstatic, and Jazz fans should be as well. Now, we just had the draft combine. There are no big surprises. Things are looking good. Dybantsa's measurements came in. They're solid. Darryn Peterson's came in very solid as well. I was impressed actually by the wingspan for Darryn Peterson. It's a +5, which is fantastic. Dybantsa's was a +4. Very, very good also. With him being 6'8.5" without shoes, Darryn Peterson comes in at 6'4.5" without shoes. Not a surprise. Dybantsa is the wing. Peterson is the guard. They are both tier 1 prospects. And now that brings up the question. Since the Jazz were the number 2, the first thing everyone did was, well, is Utah going to trade up to number 1? Guys, I am pretty sure, and from things that I've kind of heard, Utah might have had Darryn Peterson number 1 on their board. And them going number 2 means they might get the guy that they would have probably potentially picked at number 1, right? So for Utah, why would you trade up if you're going to get a tier 1 prospect no matter what happens. Washington makes this decision for Utah, and Utah's fine with it because they have Peterson and Dybantsa at the top of their board. And if they take Dybantsa, Utah will happily walk to the podium and pick, or have Adam Silver walk to the podium and pick Darryn Peterson. And if the Washington Wizards change their mind and go with Darryn Peterson, then obviously Utah's going to be happy to have Darryn Peterson come onto the Jazz. Now, they may have Darryn Peterson at number 1 on their board, but it's probably, sixes either way. Dybantsa has incredible size. Where Darryn Peterson is probably the most skilled player in the draft, Dybantsa probably has the highest ceiling and potential because of his size and that athleticism with that size. It really makes him just that tier 1 prospect, and it's going to be hard for this Washington Wizards team to pass on Dybantsa because of that size. 6'8.5" without shoes means he's about 6'10", which is just fantastic size. He's actually taller than Cam Boozer. And then the nice wingspan, and then you combine that with his ability to get to the basket. He draws fouls. He can defend. I mean, there's some defensive questions with Dybantsa, but I think they'll be answered pretty quickly. I think he'll just play hard once he's in the league. And if he has a coach like Will Hardy that will demand defense, he'll do great. I think so. So either way, you are happy. I think Dybantsa probably there's probably a little bit of a curve there just for him to kind of adjust to the NBA. I think Peterson probably comes into the league and just scores at an elite rate pretty easily. I mean, who knows? You never know. I don't think everyone predicted Knippel to shoot the ball well when he came into the league. I don't think anyone expected him to shoot as well as he did. And then sometimes there's prospects you expect to do well, and they struggle a little bit more than you thought. I think both are going to be great. I think whether Utah ends up with Dybantsa or Peterson, Jazz fans should be ecstatic. Both are great. And that's what it was just sinking in for me today. I was excited because it was just such a surprise yesterday. But the fact is, Utah is getting a generational prospect either way, a player you can build a team around. Dybantsa, who's kind of this Tracy McGrady type prospect, or Peterson, who reminds me of SGA. He just does. Like, I was watching SGA play the Lakers today, and you watch what Peterson was doing in college, and yes, they're different players and have different strengths and things, but very similar. There's top 10 player potential with both, and both will likely be all NBA players. That's the difference between those two. And then you look at Wilson and Boozer. Both of them are likely all-stars, but these two are all NBA and potential first-team all NBA for both. It just depends on how well they develop, if they both stay healthy and they can reach their potential. And that's what makes this so exciting for Jazz fans. Guys, both of these players are the type of player you build around. You draft them and you build around what they are. I saw a lot of people online talking about, Darryn Peterson will fit in with Will Hardy's scheme because of the movement shooting and blah. That doesn't matter at all. Sure, Darryn Peterson can do that, but that's because Darryn Peterson can do everything. Darryn Peterson and AJ Dybantsa are the type of prospects you don't fit them into a system. No, they're the type of prospects you build a system around, right? That's how good they are. This is not fitting them in with other players. When we talk about Darryn Peterson and AJ Dybantsa fitting with what the Jazz do, it doesn't really matter. Both of them are the type of players you draft, and then you fit everything around them. Now, that's one of the things that I think is pretty exciting, is that I actually think it's not a problem for either of them. I think Dybantsa could come in and play the 2 with Utah, just like Peterson. Peterson, I think, is a little bit more comfortable fitting in at the 2 and fits with what the Jazz do. It's the rare thing with Peterson where he kind of fits the Jazz roster, and he's the best player available if the Jazz have him available at 2. But in reality, that doesn't matter because you are building around what they do. Obviously, Utah has their roster kind of built, and so that really helps. And, thank goodness for this Jazz team that, it's not a power forward. That's why I had problems with Cam Boozer. Utah has two power forwards already in Lauri Markkanen and Jaren Jackson Jr. Utah will make it work. Will Hardy's a fantastic coach, and it'll be fine, But another power forward would have been a little bit of an issue, right? Cam Boozer would have just been coming off the bench, and that would have been fine. It's just there's just no way Utah's drafting Cam Boozer, by the way, guys. You can put that to bed. Yeah, he had great numbers. He also can't really jump and is not laterally super quick, so there's some defensive issues. Whereas with Peterson and Dybantsa, they have the athleticism and movement and ability to play both ends. I think what's interesting is I think Peterson is more of a sure defensive prospect, but I honestly am not worried about Dybantsa defensively at all. He's got the size to do it. So it's great. Basically, the moral of this story, this is all gravy for Jazz fans. Whether it's Dybantsa, Peterson, get excited. They're both generational prospects. And, listening to Gavoni talk to Zach Lowe, he has Peterson as his clear-cut number one. That's what makes this so crazy, is that if the Wizards pick Dybantsa and Utah gets Peterson, and they get kind of that clear-cut number one and maybe falls to two because of some problems with his cramping and things like that, just injury stuff. By the way, Peterson played, 28 minutes per game his last 9 games. He finally got healthy, and we saw what he could do, right? But either way, I'm happy if the Jazz get Dybantsa or Peterson, and so should all Jazz fans. There is no way Utah should give up any sort of assets to move up. Why would they do that when you can get a number 1 pick at the number 2? That's what made this draft so incredible, and that's what made Utah jumping to 2 so fantastic, because they are getting a number 1 pick caliber regardless. If it's Dybantsa, if it's Peterson, it does not matter. And then we have Ace Bailey that is still going to continue to develop. So Utah has a core of 6 players. I'm going to call them the Sinister Six, like from Spider-Man. Good luck. But they are going to be fantastic and continue to develop. And their young trio of Keontae George, well, I guess it's a young, quadruple or quad, whatever you want to call it, of Keontae George, Darryn Peterson / AJ Dybantsa, whoever lands to the Jazz, Ace Bailey, and Walker Kessler. That's the youth. And then you've got 2 veterans in their prime now in Lauri Markkanen and Jaren Jackson Jr. This Jazz team is going to be phenomenal next year, and then they can just fill out the rest of the roster with talent that fits what they do, with the Yusuf Nurkic's and the Svi Mikhailiks and Cody Williams and Bryce Sensabaugh and all these other players Utah has on their roster. Is going to be a fantastic team. By the way, they've got a mid-level exception. Dwayne Wade needs to go talk to his buddy LeBron. Why don't we just add LeBron James to this Jazz team and let's get crazy up in here? Just kidding, unless he wants to. All right, guys, like the video, subscribe to the channel. Thank you so much to the All-Stars. I cannot wait. I am so pumped. I am so ready for this season. I am just absolutely, it's not like I needed it, but I'm absolutely rejuvenated. The pearly gates have opened to a Jazz future that is so incredibly bright. You're going to want to be here. Like the video, subscribe to the channel, guys. I will talk to you next time.